All right, guys, I'm injured. I got a severe pulled muscle in my calf. Yeah, of all things, coming down the stairs. So I'm going to do some live demos of the settings that we're talking about.
Oh, he's gonna find it. Well, there's treasure waiting. It's just been hiding. Yeah, you know he'll comb the beach and he'll unearth metal. Calabash digger will find something special. He'll dig, he'll dive to find that treasure. Welcome to Calabash Digger Adventures.
All right, guys, this is the Minelab Manticore. If you're here to learn how to learn the Manticore in the most easiest, efficient way, well, you're in the right place. I'm going to give you some Calabash Digger pro tips of the day. I'm going to show you the settings in real live time demos. So by the end of this video, you will know how to set up your Manticore, and you will also know how to overcome those seeds of doubt that a lot of times come with new detectors, and you start changing settings and you go, oh man, have I got my machine messed up? Is it detecting properly? Well, by the end of this video, the doubts and the know-how are going to be there. So get a Pepsi, grab some popcorn. It's going to be a little bit of a long video because there's a lot to cover, but this is the most efficient, easy way to learn the Manticore that I know of. You guys are going to have to pardon me today. I'm teaching from a chair. I've got an injured calf muscle, as you'll see me limping on the outside demo videos, and good time to be teaching since I can't go diving or metal detecting. But today we're going to look at the Manticore. We're going to look at the settings, and you notice the triangle of settings that I have here. We're going to look at how all of these settings tie in together and what is the best way to run the machine, the most efficient way, and the easiest way to understand the machine and its settings. Well, here we go. Let's break it down. Recovery speed is at the top of the triangle. Why? Well, I'm going to demo that for you in just a couple of minutes. And recovery speed does a couple of things. It has some pros and cons, but let's talk about it and what it does. High recovery speed in general has better unmasking. Lower recovery speed in general has better depth. Higher recovery speed loses depth. Lower recovery speed loses unmasking. Now, where do we set it? Well, let's kick over. Let's go to the live demo and check it out. And I will tell you the Calabash Digger pro tip of the day for mild to moderate soil. And before we get started really good, these settings and this teaching on the Manticore is my experience in mild to moderate soil. And if you live in a highly mineralized area, there could be some benefit from this video because of understanding what the settings do in real life time. But these settings are primarily for mild to moderate soil, and highly mineralized soil requires a different set of settings and a little bit different understanding of the metal detector. So here we go. Recovery speed live demo. Recovery speed test number 1, level 5. This is a silver quarter with iron above it. It is a level 5. It is a very tough test. The iron unmasking scenario is very tough. Multiple nails situated above a 1930 Standing Liberty silver quarter. So we've got a recovery speed of 8. Check this out, guys. Not a problem. We've got a recovery speed of 0. Target is gone. So we've got to figure out where do we want to run our recovery speed on the Manticore in mild to moderate soil to get the best of both worlds. And I found with the Manticore that a 5 or a 6 in mild to moderate soil will give you super depth and it will give you good separation. That's a 5. That's a 6. Now, I'm going to change up and I'm going to show you a 1 foot silver US $half buried at 12 inches deep. I'm not going to turn my camera because I'm hobbling along. I'm just going to go swing it over and show it with the GoPro. Okay guys, you see that right there? That's a 1 foot silver half dollar with a recovery speed of 5. What happens if you lower it all the way down? Gain depth. What happens if you raise it to its max? You lose. So with a recovery speed of 5 or 6, we get excellent unmasking and excellent depth. As you guys see, recovery speed can have a big impact on performance, and that is why I put it at the top. So you guys will understand the performance enhancements or the performance lack of with changing that setting. We see that in mild to moderate soil, a 5 or 6 gives you good unmasking and great depth, and it's just that simple. Now, let's talk about, which one do you guys want to talk about first? Let's talk about frequency. I'm going to demo 2 programs, and that is the general program and the high conductor general program. What does frequency do on a metal detector? We're going to break, this can be a very complex subject, but we're going to break it down in the most simplistic way, because it really doesn't take an engineering degree to understand how this works. In general, a high frequency hits gold better than a low frequency. A low frequency in general, and I'm not talking about general program, just overall, hits silver coins better. Now, let me give a little warning and disclaimer here. Don't take that to mean that a high frequency won't hit a silver coin or a low frequency won't hit a gold ring. There will be some things like tiny gold that a high frequency hit that a low frequency will not hit. But in general, a high frequency will hit a gold ring, and in general, I got messed up. Edit. In general, a low frequency will hit a gold ring, and in general, a high frequency will hit a silver coin. Now, for the Manticore in mild to moderate soil, when we talk about the programs, as you guys see right here behind my head, and the frequency, they're kind of tied together because Minelab has different weighted frequencies in their programs. The general program that I recommend learning the Manticore on is a higher weighted frequency. The general high conductor program is a lower weighted frequency. Now here's the thing, in mild to moderate soil, the higher weighted frequency in the high conductor lower weighted frequency, there's not much depth difference on a coin sized object, a silver coin sized object or a silver coin. But there is a vast difference in the unmasking capabilities, and I am going to demo that for you right now. We're going to come back and talk about it. Let's talk about frequency just for a minute, and let's talk about the programs. My suggestion for the Manticore is to start out in all-terrain general. And why is that? Well, the Manticore, you guys know that watch my channel, I compare all brands, high-end to low-end or high-end to lower-price detectors. And the general program on the Manticore has been the best factory program that I've seen on any metal detector. It's more of a higher weighted frequency, and you got plenty to choose from, as you can see me cycling through. But what I have found is the general program hits the deep silver. It has great unmasking capabilities, and it's just a really good program to start learning this metal detector. Now, can I gain a little more in unmasking on low conductors? Yes, I can. But what happens when you see a program like, you may say, well, I want to use all-terrain high conductors because it's hot on silver. Well, I'm going to demo this real quick because this is an important aspect of the Minelab Manticore, and that is these programs. All-terrain high conductors is lower weighted. All-terrain general is higher weighted. And what does that do for coins? Well, in mild to moderate soil, there's minimal difference depth-wise with the higher and lower weighted on the silver coins, and I'll show it to you in a minute. But there's a big span in unmasking capabilities, and let me just demo this for you. All right, here is the difference between general program and high conductive program. This is a large cent and one nail elevated above it. General. All-terrain, high conductors. And that is the difference. The big difference in these programs is not so much a mild to moderate soil on coin-sized objects to depth, it's more of a bigger spread in unmasking. Now, I will say this, the general program is hotter on and higher frequency, and it will hit smaller gold. It will also hit aluminum foil and bubblegum wrappers harder than high conductors because of the weighting of the frequency. But let's look at the 12-inch silver coin between all-terrain high conductors and all-terrain low conductors. Let me hobble back over here, guys. Okay, there we go. That's all-terrain high conductor. Let's go back out of here. Let's raise the sensitivity to 23, 24, 23. Let's go back to general. Same deal. And actually it seems like general is louder and more pronounced on it, but that's it. That's what I'm trying to say is general program versus high conductor program. A good learning spot is general. You've got your unmasking capabilities and you still have your depth on coin-sized objects in mild to moderate soil. So we see that the general program has greater unmasking capabilities by far over the lower conductor program, the high conductor program. And that is why I recommend on basically all of these modern day multi-frequency detectors is to use the higher weighted programs because you're getting the unmasking capabilities and you're still getting the depth in mild to moderate soil. So we've got the recovery speed set. We know what frequency we want to be in, the higher weighted frequency programs, general, to start learning the Manticore because there's just more benefit, in my opinion, to that than there is just using the specific high conductor program. Yes, you can utilize high conductor for certain things, but we're not going to get into that today because we're trying to keep it simple from a learning platform because this is a very complex machine. You know, if you don't think so, just take a look at this sheet right here that's on the Minelab website. Now, you guys see that? That is overwhelming to me, and I am an experienced user with this machine. I can't imagine as being a new user to a Minelab product and looking at that machine going, holy crap. Well, by the end of this video, just throw that sheet away and start out with these general settings that we're talking about, and you can have complete confidence and you'll have an understanding of the settings to adjust as you need in your situation. Now, the upper and lower Ferrous, we're going to simplify this. This is basically discrimination on the Manticore. The lower, we're going to make it really simple. Leave it at 4. It's just that simple. The lower Ferrous on the Manticore deals with big iron, and 4 is really, really good. Just leave it there. Don't worry about it. Leave it. So that is one aspect of the upper and lower Ferrous limits. Now, the upper is a little more tricky, and you guys bear with me, but just to keep it simple, leave it at 8 or 9. But I'm going to show you a little more in detail, probably further than I should starting out learning the machine. But we're going to kick outside and look at what the upper and lower does, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. So check this out. Coming back to the level 5 test right here with the quarter, I want to show you the effects of Ferrous limits upper and lower. And what do I mean by Ferrous limits? Ferrous limits are the discrimination on the Manticore. It's kind of unique to the Manticore, but it's pretty simple when you get an understanding of it. The bottom is for bigger iron, bottle caps, etc. And the top is for nails. And to simplify it, I'm going to show you the effects, and I'm going to show you where we run it here in super heavy iron sites on our Colonial and Civil War sites here in the eastern United States. And it runs great. You get good unmasking, and you get the help of the Ferrous limits, which help you with the iron falsing. And that's what Minelab's discrimination or Ferrous limits is about. It's to minimize the iron falsing, but it gives the end user with different experience levels a variety of ways to set the machine, a more open up way and a more closed down way to help with the iron faults, and a more open up way to help with unmasking capabilities. So let's look at it. It's on a preset of 8 and 4. And for all practical purposes, we're gonna leave the bottom Ferrous limits alone. I found that 4 works really well, and for learning purposes of the Manticore, just leave it alone. 4. Top. We see that it's unmasking the target. Now watch the effects when I raise the upper to 14, which would cut down on unmasking. Would cut down on iron faulting, but it also cuts down on unmasking, excuse me. So we see that it will no longer unmask the target. Well, let's do the other extreme. Let's lower it down to 2. That quarter sounds really good, right? But 2 is an unusable setting in my area. The lowest setting that I really can get away with in my area is 7, but I have to utilize another feature on the Manticore to do that. But for learning purposes, my suggestion is pretty much an 8 and a 4 or 9 and a 4, if you do not want to go one step further. But if we're going to go one step further, let me show you guys what that is. We can run it on a 7, and we can come in here and we can go to the stabilizer, and we can run the stabilizer up to a 4 and not really have a whole lot of negative effects, and that will help with the iron unmasking. Let's look. Not help with the iron unmasking, that will help with the iron faulting. Excuse me guys, I'm hobbling on my leg, I'm kind of in pain. So the stabilizer is another tool that Minelab put on this machine with an update to help with iron faulting, that can be used in conjunction with the upper and lower. So here's the deal. For simple terms, let's use the upper at 8 or 9, the lower leave at 4, and if we want to lower the upper to 7, then we can use the stabilizer up to 4. But for learning purposes, probably a 9 and a 4 is a great place just to leave the Manticore factory presets and learn it. So going to give you guys that choice, and you'll have to make that choice for yourself. You can make this machine as complicated as you want and as simple as you want. If you want it simple, 9 and 4. If you want to dive into it just a little bit deeper and gain just a little bit, lower it to 7 or 8, stabilizer up to a 4 as needed. If you don't need the stabilizer, don't add it, you gain unmasking. As you guys see, the upper Ferrous limit can be lowered to gain unmasking. It can be raised to help with nail faulting. Now, where is a good general setting? Well, Minelab has done pretty good at 9. But we see that I can lower the upper Ferrous down to 7 or 8 and possibly 6 in some scenarios, and use the stabilizer setting, which this is probably a more advanced teaching, and we're not going to stay on it but just a second. And if you're feeling froggy, leap and try it. But if you want to keep it simple, a upper of 8 or 9. If you want to lower it, you can run the stabilizer. Do not run the stabilizer over 4, or you'll start seeing negative effects in mild to moderate soil unmasking. So 8 or 9, and here is one side note. If you're running a 9 and you're on some kind of site that's got some kind of iron that's giving you problems, nails per se, you can use a stabilizer even at a 9 upper Ferrous and raise the stabilizer up to help with faulting. But a good general starting point, stabilizer 8 and 9, upper Ferrous 8 and 9, stabilizer off. And it's just that simple. Probably got a little too complex and probably just gave you a little bit too much information. If you want to keep it simple, just run the doggone thing at 8 or 9 and start detecting and know that you've got great performance at that setting out of this machine. Now, a little side note here to think about this unit. This is a high performance, great performing, nice unit. And, set up even closed down, it's still high performance. So that's the side note. This thing is knocking. The tones, this is very important. You guys see this right here, tones. I'm going to show you something real quick, and we're going to come back and talk about it. Check this out. There's another aspect of this, and I just want to show it, and I've talked about it in my other teaching videos on different metal detectors, and that is tones.
Let's look at the depth audio theme on this mass target. Let's switch this tone-wise out to 5-tone. Let me go right here. 2 region all tones, 1 region all tones. Listen. Let's do it on this large cent. Now let's go back and let's switch the depth audio. Do we hear that tone difference? Well, that's over a same conductive target, but you hear a distinct difference. And this goes back into what we're talking about inside. So let's go back and talk about tone profiles and how to use them.
Do you see the drastic difference in the tone options? Well, here's the thing. Whatever program you decide to use, keep the same tone profiles. Let me say that one more time. Keep the same tone profiles. If you choose 1 region all tone, which works on a sliding scale of conductivity, if you choose depth audio, or the depth theme like I use, which works very well in iron unmasking trashy iron spots of telling you dig or don't dig, or if you want a simpler profile like 1 region 5 tones, you're going to have to make that complicated choice of which tones you like. But whichever set of tones you choose, stick with them, because what happens is if you change the tone profiles or themes even, and we're going to get into that too, you can change the behavior of the machine. On depth audio, I use a medium profile. On the 1 region all tones, I use normal. I do not use enhance, and here is why. Enhance changes the audio in a way that I do not like. So my suggestion, normal, and if you're using depth, use a medium profile. And learn it from there. Because you've got information contained, like in 1 region all tones. With the normal, you still got a lot of nuance in it. Simple cuts it back too much, and like I said, this can be a very complex machine. So whichever set of tones you use, if you choose the depth theme, use a medium profile. If you choose 1 region all tones or 1 region 5 tones, just use it in the normal setting or the normal theme for that, and don't put it in enhanced, and learn the unit in those settings. And keep them the same, whether you're on the beach, whether you're relic hunting, whether you're park hunting, keep them all the same. Put some time in on it, and don't be switching tones, because you're changing the way the machine behaves, and it just really makes the learning process really complicated and long and drawn out. So learn it in 1 set of tones first. Spend 50 hours with it at least in that set of tones. Now, if you start out and you find out you don't like the set of tones in 30 minutes, change them by all means. But don't be just changing back and forth throughout the day. You will mess yourself up. Sorry to stay on the tone so long, but very important. Now, we see that we've got sensitivity. Let me get this rockety chair here. We've got sensitivity. More is less. You guys see the demo right here. I'll be right back.
Now let's talk about another setting, sensitivity. Sensitivity, a lot of times on these detectors, more is less. You guys see this sensitivity at 20. I'm wearing, this machine is wearing a 9-inch coil. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to hobble back. Now this is a 9-inch coil. You see the sensitivity of 20. This machine, let's go back and cut all this stuff off. Get it back to where we want it. Preset 7 and 4. And we're going to go back down here to the recovery speed. We're going to lower it down to 5. That is a 12-inch silver half at a 20 sensitivity. A lot of people try to run this machine all erratic and crazy. That's the boost sensitivity. Yeah, it's true that it gets deeper and it hits it harder, but it's better to run your machine with a more stable sensitivity. Notice how I use the noise cancel as part of learning this machine to calm it down in this high EMI area that you guys can see that I'm in. And 25 is pretty dang good. We might even bump it down one more, lower it down close to the ground. Could go one more. You might could even go one more. I like that. That's where I want to hunt. I want to hunt with my machine calm. Then I come over a deep target. I'm not putting up with all that erratic. I don't want to hunt like that. What happens to the deep target when I hunt like that? Well, you got all that noise and you may wind up missing the deep target anyway. So, because you will mistake that erratic noise for a deep signal, or the deep signal will be masked by that erratic noise. So, get your machine stable. Use your auto noise cancel. This is how you want to run the unit. Stable. There's so many advantages. And you guys see this. Let's just look for giggles. Where will it hit this 12-inch coin? It's still toning on the 12-inch coin with a 9-inch coil at 16. So with a sensitivity of 16 in mild ground, I'm still able to tone on a 12-inch coin. Ain't that something? It's just a powerful machine. So one of the key notes here, too much sensitivity, more is less a lot of time when it comes to sensitivity. You will wind up hurting yourself trying to run your machine like this. You're not gaining anything. You're losing because of all that erratic noise, and it will mask the target. All right, guys, what else we got here?
Do you guys see how deep this machine is with a low sensitivity, wearing a 9-inch coil in mild to moderate soil? Do not jack this machine up to where it's running all erratic. Because what happens is when you get that, you're missing the deep stuff a lot of the times anyway, because the deep signal with the tones and the profiles that we have set up for the tones will have modulation and they will be faint. So when you crank the machine up, you've got all this, and then you might get a faint signal and it'll just tie in with all the, and you will miss it. Better to have the machine with less sensitivity and stable, where you got the quietness, and then you get a beep, and you know to investigate that beep, and you can actually hear the beep because you don't have all the sorry for the illustration, but it's really, that's how it works. You will be able to hear the deep stuff. So more is less a lot of times with the Manticore. I've seen people, I run the doggone thing stable, and you on average will find more deep stuff than the man who has the sensitivity jacked up in the machine running all erratic. Programs we talked about here. I like the general program. It is the best program that I've really seen from the factory without any changes on a metal detector. The general program on the Manticore is bad to the bone. Now, there are other, the other programs can be utilized for different things, but for the learning process, just use the general program. And I'll give you one example. Low conductor can be used to gain a slight unmasking advantage on low to mid conductors over general in iron. Slight. But for learning's sake, just start out with general. Set it up. We've already got the upper and Ferrous figured out. We already know that we want a higher weighted frequency program, and we know what the recovery speed are. We know what we're going to do with the tones. We know what we're going to do with the sensitivity, and we know which program to start out in. You guys, that's it. You guys have just walked through a teaching on the Manticore. Now you have an understanding. Yep, this is where I start. Are there things that you can, yes, you can customize this machine till the cows come home. But for learning it, this is the very simplest way I know to learn it. And here's one side note. Get your iron volume. I run mine at a 4 or 5, and I suggest leaving the horseshoe on this unit when learning it. Why? Because it tells you, you'll get these signals sometimes in iron that'll be chopped up a little bit, and if you leave the horseshoe on, you'll know that you have iron under the coil, You will learn that not all signals are the perfect signal because they can have unmasking and the machine behaves differently. And during the learning process, I suggest leaving the horseshoe on, running the discrimination not just open, all metal, and letting the machine talk to you and learning the nuances of the machine, and later on customize it as you want. But spend 50 hours, iron volume 4 or 5, all metal, and listen, and it will tell you where to slow down to. You do need to slow down. If you're hunting iron and it's like machine gun, you need to slow down and pick through that. So that is my suggestion on the learning curve for the iron. Leave it on. And what else do we have here today, guys? I want to teach in a very simplistic way on this machine because this machine has a lot of stuff on it that can be very complex. But that is the way that we basically run the machine. We run it with the lowest. I'm just going to give you a summarization of how we run it. Or me and my friends on the East Coast of the United States who I consult with about these machines, and a couple of them are testers, etc., etc. And we talk about the way that we run it. We run it with the lowest upper Ferrous that we can get because you gain the unmasking, but not such a low upper Ferrous to where it falses. We run it with a good general recovery speed that gives us depth and separation. We're running the higher weighted frequencies because we get unmasking and we still get good depth on silver coins with the higher weighted programs of this machine. And that unmasking capability is a big deal. We run the tones. We have our set of tones that we like, the sensitivity, the programs you already know, the higher weighted one. Now, let's look real quick right here at the noise cancel and ground balance before we get to the end of this. Kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit, but the noise cancel, check this out right here. I'm going to show you how I utilize the noise cancel and the sensitivity to get this machine stable in a high EMI area. I'll be right back.
Better to run your machine with a more stable sensitivity. Notice how I use the noise cancel as part of learning this machine to calm it down in this high EMI area that you guys can see that I'm in. And 25 is pretty dang good. We might even bump it down one more, lower it down close to the ground. Could go one more. You might could even go one more. I like that. That's
all right, guys. You see how that works? Noise cancel chooses the channel automatically for you that is most efficient for the machine to run on, in conjunction with the sensitivity. If you have the sensitivity too high, it doesn't matter how many times you noise cancel the machine, it's always going to be erratic. So it works in conjunction. You got to get the sensitivity 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Good starting place, and then noise cancel the machine, see if you can get it stable. And you've seen how I did it in the yard. And I live in a high EMI environment. And ground balance that you see right here behind me on this chart, don't worry about it. If it's mild to moderate soil, don't worry about ground balance in the machine. I will do a video coming up on the Manticore on how to run it on the saltwater beach, and you will have to ground balance or use tracking ground balance there, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. When my leg heals up and I can walk a little bit, I will go to the beach and show you guys how I set up the Manticore in the most simplistic way to find the goods on the beach in the salt water. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope this helps, and I hope that I covered everything in this video. If not, leave me a comment below and we'll try to get another short video if I missed a topic. This is really hard to do. There's a lot of settings on this machine, but this is one bad to the bone unit. And with what I just showed you in mild to moderate soil, you're not missing much. You know, you can have complete confidence that you're detecting this machine in a way that it's reaching a very high performance and optimal performance level. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys. Ooh. Yeah, you guys see how much I love you? I can't hardly walk. Ooh! Oh, God, my leg's killing me.